Okay, welcome everybody to another QuickBooks Power Hour. We are very glad to see you today. Hector, I don't see your screen quite yet. If you could go ahead and show us your screen, that would be great. It looks like you tried to catch it, but thank you everybody for joining us for another QB Power Hour. Glad to have you with us here today. I know some of you are really busy with tax season, so very grateful to have you joining us. Do you all see Hector's screen? Because I am not seeing it right now, and maybe it's just me. Are you all seeing it? Yes, they say they can see it. Very good. Okay, I can't see it, so I'm just going to go ahead. Somebody says I am on the speaker. Yeah, my sound is not very good today, and I apologize for that. Hopefully we'll do a little bit better on that. But my name is Michelle Long. I'm glad to have you guys joining us for today. I am a CPA, author of several different books. You can check those out. I'd encourage you to join the LinkedIn group, as well as the Facebook group that we have for QB Power Hour. You can see the link there. If you just go to Facebook and look for QB Power Hour, we'd love to have you join us in there. Hector, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself quick?
Sure. I work and live in Miami, Florida. I teach QuickBooks pretty much every weekend in a classroom that we have down here. I have a master's in finance and taxation. I'm a member of it Intuit Trainer Writer Network, and teaching and talking about QuickBooks, it's one of my favorite things in the world, other than talking about my kids.
Kids are always a fun topic, aren't they? Well, great. All right. Thank you, Hector. So a little bit today, what we're going to cover, our agenda, we're going to tell you a little bit about QB Power Hour just briefly, the CPE process. We've got a couple of announcements and updates. We're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about barter transactions quickly, and then Hector's going to talk about some advanced topics in online banking and importing transactions from PayPal. So we have another full hour for you again today. About the QB Power Hour, this is a webinar series that we do every 2 weeks. The next one will be coming up on March 19th. We cover tips, tricks, and advanced insights, giving you details about working with QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. And periodically, we do bring in a special guest, some third-party apps, and we'll talk about that in just a second. We do welcome your feedback. If you've got suggestions for topics, we're working on a schedule so that we can let you all know what's coming for future webinars. We hope to get that available to you soon. One thing we did want to make sure that we mentioned is, as far as sponsors and guest speakers, the primary sponsors are myself, Long for Success, and Hector's business, QuickBooks Bookkeeping and Accounting. So we're the primary sponsors, and Hector and I devote a lot of time to this, trying to help everybody learn more about QuickBooks, as well as paying for the GoToWebinar fees and the mobile app and things like that. So we also have some other sponsors that are vetted, and they may help us financially to cover some of these costs, but we do look for third-party developers and some other speakers that have something that's very useful, whether it's a relevant product or service for QuickBooks users. Hector and I take great care to check them out to make sure that it's something that we can put our reputation on and recommending, something that will be useful for you all. And we do have several people who come to us that we have to turn away for one reason or another. So we do try to vet our sponsors and make sure we're bringing you all very good, useful, and relevant information. And we also wanted to make it clear that Intuit is not a sponsor of QB Power Hour, although we do bring in some Intuit employees or product managers, and we cover QuickBooks and get a lot of information. They're not one of our sponsors officially, but we do partner with them, and definitely they support us, hopefully, and we're supporting them as well. Hector, do you have some other things that you want to add?
Yeah, it's very important for people to know that Michelle and I, we run our regular practices. Okay, we have our own billable hours, we have our own businesses that we run, and in the several years that we've been doing this, we've acquired a lot of knowledge, a lot of important skills that we just want to share. We want everybody that it's in the position of starting their bookkeeping practice, or already doing it for several years, to share what we have learned, and in turn we learn from you guys as well when we get questions, and in the LinkedIn group and in the Facebook group. So there is for sure tons of value in sharing and learning from each other. But we got to pay the bills. It's QB Power Hour has fixed expenses, and we do have sponsors, tons of them, that email us that want to do a demo in our webinar. But we specifically only choose the ones that either Michelle and I both use in our practice, or the ones that are useful enough to add value to our audience. So that's an important piece. You know, they will demo their product, and so for some cases, it's a great thing. I've gotten tons of feedback from people thanking us for showing them, exposing them to those products. So it's important to know that sponsors are part of the Power Hour, and at least 10, 15 minutes of each episode, we're going to have one. Every once in a while, we won't have one like we've had, but it's important to expect that there will be a third-party, non-QuickBooks application doing a demonstration here every once in a while. That's all I want to say.
Thanks, Hector. Do you want to go ahead and tell them about CPE? I think that's the next slide.
Okay, so for whoever attended on the very last Power Hour, which is 2 weeks ago, we have not sent those CPE certificates yet, so it's tax season for me too, and I haven't had the chance to put them together. It's kind of a manual process. So hopefully this week, next week some point, I will send both the CPE certificate from last week and the certificate from today, or the one from 2 weeks ago and the one from today. In order for you to get the certificate, you have to be on the webinar at least 50 minutes, and you have to answer the CPE question correctly. If you went to the bathroom when the CPE question was up, or when the CPE polling question came up, and then when you came back you couldn't answer it, unfortunately this is the way we chose to administer CPEs and verify attendees. So you have to be there to get the keyword and be able to answer the question. It usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, so we're still within time from 2 weeks ago, but I promise you that this week or the next I will send out both the one from 2 weeks ago and the one from this week. Michelle?
Very good. Thank you, Hector. Okay, next we wanted to let you know about a few upcoming events that we have. I'd like to invite you to join Sandy Smith, Leyva, and I for the award-winning Ultimate Accounting VCon. It's a virtual conference that you can attend from your home, just like you're attending this webinar today. Also, Hector and I would love to have you join us at QuickBooks Connect. That's in San Jose, California in November. It promises to be another great event this year. If there's any way you can make it, I'd really encourage you to join us for that. A couple of quick announcements when it comes to talking about the updated QuickBooks Online Advanced Certification. Yes, you heard me right. QBO has an advanced certification. Last time we had our QB Power Hour, I mentioned that it would be available soon, and it's out there now. And there are people who are passing it already. The updates include partial credit. So now most of the questions allow you to get partial credit where there's multiple parts for that question. If you get one part, you'll get partial credit for that, so you won't miss the whole question. The questions were revised and clarified. We went through them with painstaking detail on every word and every sentence to help make sure that it was clear and easy to understand. We had a lot of people test it and go through it and pilot test pro-advisors who were new pro-advisors as well as experienced pro-advisors. So it is available now, and we have had people reporting that they passed it. I actually know one person, I'm not sure if he's on right now, he stayed up all night. The exam was released, I think it was like on a Wednesday, and by Thursday morning he posted out there that he had passed it. And sure enough, he said he pulled an all-nighter to pass it. Some tips are to take your time. It is an advanced exam. There may be some parts where it's going to take you 5 hours for one module or 6 hours. I think you should expect at least a minimum of 20 hours for the whole exam, and it may be more than that. Some of you that have been using QuickBooks for many, many years, you're going to breeze right through parts of it. Some of you, if you're an accountant and you went and got a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, some sections like Module 5 on where we talk about some ratios and trend analysis, that might be easy peasy for you. But if you're a bookkeeper, that might be new to you. You might need to spend some more time on that module going through it. So take your time. Read the details very closely. It's very important that you slow down and don't try to rush through it. I have people who've already failed Part 1, Module 1, because they went through it too quickly. You've got to slow down. Take your time. So there's a few tips. One other tip I will give you, keep in mind that sometimes there are synonyms for other words in accounting. For example, profits, revenues, income, net proceeds. You know, you've got different terminology for income. So sometimes there are synonyms, and that's tripping people up a little bit on one of the modules in particular. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes there are synonyms, and that as an accounting professional, you should know that they really mean the same thing. So enough of those. Let me know when you get certified. I love to hear that and share that with you all because it's great to get that advanced certification. It helps you move up the ranking on the Find a Pro Advisor website. Okay, next we wanted to talk about barter transactions, and this will only take 5 or 10 minutes. This isn't a very complicated one, and I did see that somebody put in the chat room there, or in the questions, they put in there, woohoo, they're salivating over this, so they're already excited about this. So when it comes to the barter transactions, this is when you have a customer that's also a vendor. And so here's a great example. We're fixing up our old house, getting ready to sell it. I bartered with the painter. I was cleaning up my old office. I had these old file cabinets, and I told him I was going to be getting rid of them, and he said he wanted them. Oh, super, let's trade. I'll give you the file cabinets. You take money off of my bill. We often do that as accounting professionals where we will barter with a customer. Maybe you have somebody who does graphics or marketing, and you want them to help you with your website, and you're going to give them a month free or something like that. So how do we deal with barter transactions? First of all, you set up a barter bank account. We're going to use that in lieu of cash because it's important that we record the income and the expense on the books, but no cash is trading hands, so we need a barter bank account to account for that. And I'm going to go into QBO and show you this in just a second. Then you're going to set up and enter the sale as normal, either as an invoice or a sales receipt. The difference is when you post that you received payment, you're going to post it to that barter bank account because you don't really receive cash. Then you also will enter the expense or the check as normal, again, posting the payment as coming out of the barter bank account. Now, if there's a difference, for example, on these file cabinets, it was only about $150, and we owed like $1,500 or more on the painting for the house. So I still had to pay cash. So if there's a difference between the goods and services that you're exchanging, then you use a real bank account to pay the additional amount due. So what I'm going to go do is, Hector, I'm going to go ahead and take the presenter mode back so that I can share with you. And I'm going to be showing you what it looks like in QBO. However, I want you to be aware, oh darn it, it logs me out. I want you to be aware that, let's go into the test drive here, QBO.intuit.com/redirect test drive. I want you to be aware that you can do this in QuickBooks Online, and I must have typed something wrong, I did. You can do this in QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, just the same process there. Either way, so I apologize. I am logged in and it logs me out. I'm getting into the test drive company, which you guys can use as well. This is a great way for you to go in and try things and play around with it. You can share this link with your client, with your staff members, with anybody that wants to get in and play around with things. And now, there we go. It's coming up ever so slowly but surely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my chart of accounts. And the first thing we're going to do, remember, is we're going to set up a barter bank account. So it needs to be a bank type of account. Let me minimize this because I'm not sure if that's going to be showing for you. So I'm going to click on New. And my internet today has decided to be a little bit slow. And
Michelle, a quick comment. Barter bank account, in many scenarios that I've seen, people call it clearing account. So if you want to use the example, it could also be called a clearing account, but barter account obviously is much better.
Yes, you could call it a clearing account. The reason I call it a barter account is sometimes people use several clearing accounts. They might use some for credit card deposits that they receive. Some people use it for recording payroll checks. So I like to give it a name, so I call it barter account. And you could call it barter clearing account or whatever name you want to give it. The key is you do want to make it a bank account because that's how we receive payment, and make payment is with it being a bank type of account. So that's what's important, and yes, you can name it whatever you want. So I'm creating a barter bank account, and then I would go along and I would create an invoice for my customer. Actually, I should have done a sales receipt. That saved me a step, but that's okay. We'll go through this as an invoice, a barter customer, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and save because I quick added that. And let's charge them for some framing, or let's do installation. And let's do 10 hours, 100 hours. We got $5,000. So I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice for my customer, and then when it's time to receive the payment for that customer, let me go ahead and close this. Then I would go ahead and click to receive payment, and I'm going to receive, I'm showing you first the customer side, and then I'm going to show you the expense in the vendor side. So on a barter customer, I could have done a sales receipt, but I did it as an invoice and then receive payment. I could have done it as a sales receipt. The key is the deposit to the barter bank account, because remember, we're not actually receiving money. So I'm going to go into the barter bank account, and I'm going to go ahead and check this invoice to pay that one off. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close this one. And then when it's time to record that expense, we're going to record it as normal. If you normally enter bills, you could do that. And when you pay the bill, you would want to pay it out of the barter bank account. You could write a check if you wanted to do that. I'm going to go ahead and enter an expense, which is something we can do in QuickBooks Online. So however you want to enter that, it's important that, remember, we've got to get the income and the expense. So here, I'm going to have a barter vendor, because remember, we can't have the same name on both lists. So you might have, you know, a customer like Hector-C for customer or Hector-V for vendor. So let's say I got some advertising expense here. I want to record that expense, $5,000. Again, the key is to record which account it's coming out of. It's coming out of the barter bank account up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and save and close that, and then I'm going to open the chart of accounts and we'll go show you that register. And you can see on the barter bank account how it comes in, it comes and goes back out. And you even can reconcile that account to clear out transactions if you have a lot of barter. So you'll see here's the received payment where I had the $5,000 from the customer and the $5,000 where I paid the vendor, if you will. That allows me to record both the income and the expense. Now, if there was a difference, then you would need to go ahead and use a real bank account to either receive the additional amount or pay the additional amount. So it's not very difficult. The key is setting up that barter clearing account. So I hope that's been helpful. I will look at some of the questions that you have. Or Hector, is there anything that we need to talk about, or can I just answer them in the chat window?
Sorry, I was talking to myself. It was muted. Yeah, go ahead and answer them in the chat window while I switch over. Do you want to put the polling question? I mean, the polling answer up, the keyword.
Yes. Okay. So here is your keyword. Hopefully, you'll be able to see this. The CPE keyword is pizza. 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 The CPE keyword is pizza. I love to eat pizza. Although it's not very good.
Michelle, leave the keyword up. Well, there's a couple questions here. So somebody says, what would happen if the barter account in the chart of accounts doesn't equal to 0?
Okay, so if there's a difference. So for example, I had $150 for the painter, but it was $1,500 total, or it was actually more than that. But so let's say there's $1,350 additional amount. In that situation, I would need to write a check from a real bank account to pay that $1,350 additional. So whenever there's a difference, you'll have a partial payment received or a partial payment made, leaving a balance due. On the balance due, you need to enter that as normal out of your regular checking account or whichever account you use to do the difference, where you receive additional money or whether you pay additional money. That will ensure that you get everything cleared out. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and there was 2 tax questions that I'm not sure, Michelle, if we can answer them in this type of event. One of them is, if you sell something, a product that is taxable, sales tax, and you don't get paid and you barter it, the question is that sale taxable for sales purposes, sales tax purposes?
I am not a tax guru, but yes, I think it would be. So in the example that we used where I had $5,000, the total amount might really be $5,050 because you have sales tax. So there, yes, you enter the transactions as normal. So if you normally charge sales tax, yes, you want to put that on your invoice. And then when the only difference is when you're receiving or making the payment, you're not trading cash. You're trading services or products. So you use that barter clearing account. But if sales taxes were involved, then sales taxes should be included on the invoice or on the bill or whatever. And what I would encourage people to do is log into that sample company and test it out, and that helps you to see how it works. And just remember, the only difference is you use the barter clearing account for the fact that you're not exchanging cash with each other. Sometimes there will be cash involved in the transactions, then you use your regular checking account whenever there's a difference and the services and products don't equal out. Test it out, play with it in that sample company, and it's also covered in Module 3 of the advanced exam on special transactions. So once again, the CPE keyword was pizza, 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 pizza. And Hector, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you because it's your turn now to talk about some other great topics. So I'm going to pass that over to you. And again, if you write down the CPE keyword pizza, you will get a poll question a little bit later where we'll ask you to select the right answer of pizza. So don't type it in the question box. You'll put it in the poll question later. Hector, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So before I jump over, there was one more question I wanted to answer. The other question was, what happens if you're paying a subcontractor or somebody that you normally would give a 1099 to, but you're not actually issuing them a payment, you're using a barter transaction? They had a question like, will this services they provided to you, which you did not pay for, be eligible for 1099? And again, it's hard to give, without knowing all the circumstances, to give specific tax advice, but I would say it would fall into the exact same category. If they provide a service to you, whether you pay them in cash or bananas, I think either or it's going to be something that's subject to 1099. Okay?
I agree with you, Hector. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go into my section, which I'll talk about the anatomy of the QBO file. So I'm trying to stick within the relevancy of tax season because a lot of us, whether you do tax or not, we do a lot of data entry, a lot of bookkeeping, a lot of write-up work, quote unquote, and the very, very best way, and I've said it maybe in 3 or 4 episodes, the very best way, fastest way to get data into QuickBooks in a consistent way and also sustainable that helps you for the future, it's going to be downloading a QBO file or doing a direct connect, which is also called bank feeds. Now, for the most part, a lot of banks allow you to download maybe 90 days or maybe 60 days in that direct connect way. But if you're doing 12 months worth of bank statements right now in February or March, and you may have to download the QBO file separately and download them in there. So that being said, and Michelle, just confirm that you're looking at we're looking at QBO right now.
Yes, I can see that.
So that being said, I want to show something. I'm usually not doing stuff in QBO, so this may be a new thing for some of you viewers. I'm usually doing stuff in QuickBooks Desktop, and it's very weird will be to hear my voice with QBO in the background. But I do work with QBO quite a bit. It's just that between Michelle and I, the arrangement is she does QBO, I do QuickBooks Desktop. But one of the things I wanted to mention, here in QBO, a lot of people don't realize, that up here under the banking part, there's a little section that says File Upload. And then in here, you can manually upload CSV files or QBO files. So the automated way that QuickBooks Online talks to the banks normally is limited to 90 days. So you may have to skip the direct connection and have to go to your bank, download the .qbo file, and load it through here. So I want to make sure I mentioned that because a lot of people don't realize that's there. The other thing I want to talk about is, in terms of bank feeds, is the bank rules. Okay, these bank rules, which are also hidden in this little drop down here, here on the Manage Rules, they've done some major improvements to the bank rules. So I want to go ahead and create a bank rule here real quick to kind of show you. So one of the major improvements they made to the bank rules, which is very different than QuickBooks Desktop, and this is online banking. Bank rules are more powerful in QBO right now than desktop. So first of all, I can make a rule different for money in and money out. I can also make a rule different depending on the bank that is coming from. So for example, if I got a transaction called transaction fee. And it's called transaction fee in PayPal, and it's called transaction fee in Bank of America. I want that if it's called transaction fee in Bank of America, I want it to go to bank service charge. But if it's called transaction fee in PayPal, I want it called, PayPal transaction fees. And then maybe the PayPal ones, I want to make it cost of goods sold, and the bank ones, I want to make it operating expense. So that's huge flexibility that I can actually choose the fee based on which bank is coming from. The other piece is we can have rules that do either all the conditions or some of the conditions, and you can have multiple conditions. So for example, let me make, I'm going to put here American Airlines. And let's say that in some circumstances, it comes in as AA.com, right? In other circumstances, it comes in as American Air. For whatever reason, it gets cut. And in some circumstances, it comes in as AA online or something like that. So I can make one rule where any of these three conditions apply. Therefore, I don't have to make three rules. In QuickBooks Desktop, I would have to make three rules for this sort of scenario. The other piece is I can also say, wait a second, if the expense itself is a check or it's a debit card wire transfer type of transaction, or if it's a transfer between bank accounts, I can actually tell it how I want to apply it. So in this particular case, AmericanAirlines.com, American Airlines, AA Online, this is typically going to be with a debit card transaction. So I can say, look, whenever you categorize these, I wanted you to make it a check. And the payee in this case, I would just create my American Airlines vendor, and I would put here travel. Now, also, one of the real neat things about this, and this is actually not so new, is the split. This actually came out last year, but I can actually split these and split them 50-50 into two categories. So if I wanted to, for example, automate all my travel expense to 50%, then I would just put here 50%. In this case, I will do 50% travel and then 50% personal or shareholder distribution or something like that. So there's a couple of really neat things about it. And something I absolutely love is you can actually push the system to add a memo on top of that. So I can add a memo, which actually I really like this. I can add a memo here called, classified via bank rules. Okay, and then I'll know that anytime something that comes through online banking gets automatically done via bank rules, I'm going to have a memo that says so. So if I'm reviewing the books in the future, I can actually tell whether or not this is something that the user itself had the opportunity to do it manually or to actually it being done automatically. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my topic now, which is the anatomy of a QBO file and PayPal. I just want to double check with Michelle real quick. Are there any questions in that little tiny demo that I did, Michelle, that I need to cover?
I was busy answering some of the back questions on Barter.
No problem. You let me know. You let me know. Okay. So the other thing I'd like to show you is I'm just going to kind of show you here. I downloaded some .qbo files. Okay. I downloaded them from my bank, and what I want to show you is I think it's important for us, there's some sort of black magic that happens when we download a QBO file and it goes into bank feeds. I think it's important for some of us to know what exactly is in that QBO file. So what I like to do is I like to open the QBO file in Excel, and I kind of want to show you what's in there. I think some people are fascinated by looking at the insides of a QBO file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just open up a blank Excel workbook. It's really the only way to do it. And then I'll grab the QBO file and I'll drag it into it, okay? And again, that .qbo file is what we downloaded from the bank. Then basically what happens is in Excel, you're going to see sort of the coding element of a QBO file. But I want to make sure that people have an idea for what's in there. So in the very top, you kind of get a header. All that stuff is baloney. You don't have to worry about that stuff. But then down here somewhere, your actual routing number and your bank account number will show up. And then on every single one of these lines, we're actually going to see what it looks like. And it doesn't look like a lot right now. It looks like it's very confusing. But I'm going to show you a couple of real quick Excel tricks that allows you to quickly actually understand what's in there. So I'm going to go ahead and select this entire column. and I'm going to select something called text to columns. I know this is not related to QuickBooks, but sometimes it's important to kind of understand what's inside these files. And I'm going to do something called delimited convert text to column split, and I'm going to say every time there is a close bracket, split it into 2 columns. And this basically what this will do now is this will actually separate the two into the actual transaction, the data content, and the original code. Now that original code I don't need anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and filter it out, and I'm only going to show you name. And for the Excel geeks out there, I know you're very excited. For the non-Excel geeks, I'm sorry I'm making you go through this. I found this to be interesting nonetheless. So by doing this filter, I actually get to see this is the actual text that comes in through the bank. Now, something that's very important to know is the way a QBO file works. These payee fields are limited to 32 characters. So it doesn't matter what the bank it's going to transfer over in the online banking. They're going to limit this to 32 characters, and anything after the 32nd character on is going to come in the next column, which is the memo column. And I'm going to switch this over to the filter to show you what's in the memo column here, and I'll show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about. The memo column would be the second part of the payee, which is everything after the 32nd character. This is why people get confused about what is the crap, and pardon my word, what's the crap that comes in the memo field is a bunch of gibberish, and basically that's the explanation. It's because QBO, the .QBO format is limited to the first 32 characters. Okay, so that's the anatomy of the QBO file. That's actually as much as I wanted to show you on that matter. Now let's talk about PayPal. Let me switch over. This is my my PayPal account here. Now, I would like to just kind of get a general idea of how people feel about PayPal. So I sent a message in our Facebook group asking them how they work with PayPal with their clients, and it's amazing the vast variety of answers that I got. It seems like there isn't one single uniform way to handle PayPal transactions. There's actually several ways to handle PayPal transactions. So a PayPal bank is a bank just like any other regular bank, and it needs to be reconciled. So in QuickBooks, we've got to find a way to get this data into QuickBooks. So I'm going to go into the download history and show you what are the options that PayPal actually gives you. So PayPal gives you a couple of options here. One is going to be comma delimited or tab delimited, which, you know, for all intents and purposes is going to be the same thing because Excel can open both. And it'll give you something called all activity, completed payments, and balance affecting payments. Now, the problem with all activity is you're going to get stuff like pending transaction or authorization or payment request. You're not going to get actual posting transactions. The problem with completed payments is you will get them. You will get completed payments as of the date that they were generated, but you're not going to get them as of the date that they affected the balance. So because we need to reconcile at the end of the day, what we need to choose is this option here called balance affecting payments. So when I click on balance affecting payments, and I'll just choose a time period here. I'm going to choose November, for example. And I want to kind of show you what this looks like in Excel and see what can we do to bring this into QuickBooks. Again, we've been talking about how to download it and a little bit of Excel stuff. And I know a lot of you are anxious to say, well, wait a second, Hector, I need to see how this is going to come into QuickBooks. That's all I care about. I'm a QuickBooks person. So I wanted to show you because it's important to know what is it that's available to you. So when I do the download, I get to see basically a spreadsheet that gives me transaction date. It gives me payee name. At this point, if you don't need to reconcile this with any existing transactions in QuickBooks, so for example, if none of these money coming in actually has an invoice associated with it, then I can just import these in the very easiest, fastest way, which is going to be doing it via batch enter transactions. So I'm not going to do a whole example of that because I've done at least 3 episodes on this. But in a nutshell, I would come into batch enter transactions. Let me just create here a bank account called PayPal. And I would just come into Excel here. I would clean it up in Excel a little bit and then copy and paste it. Okay, so we have other episodes that talk about that, and I have videos in YouTube that talk about that. So I'm not going to do that example right now, but that could be one circumstance. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that circumstance only works if the data that's on PayPal does not need to be reconciled with information that's in QuickBooks right now. So let me show you an example of what I mean by that. So I'm going to go back here to my, whoops, should have hit refresh. So I'm going to go back into the information that came from my PayPal here real quick. So for example, I had this incoming money from Amy for $249. So if I wanted to match this with something that's already in QuickBooks, so for example, I'll have an invoice already, and I'll just create it here real quick. Let's say I have an invoice for Amy, and the invoice is for the same, right, the $249. So let me just create a service here real quick. And this is a brand new QuickBooks file, so there was like really nothing in there. So that was, let me just double check that. That was $249.95, $249.95, and there's my invoice, and I'll hit save and close. The problem is that because I have an open invoice, if I go ahead and use batch enter transactions, it's going to duplicate my income. So the very best way to bring this on is bring it via online banking. That's really my preferred choice of doing it, is bringing it online banking. The problem is, and I don't know why PayPal doesn't get their stuff together, is there's no way to download a .qbo file. It's not even part of the options. There's no way to download a .qbo file into QuickBooks. You can only do Excel, and then at that point you would have to convert Excel to QBO, which you would need a third-party tool to do that. Or you can download Quicken, which is actually my favorite choice, because there is a tool that converts from Quicken into QuickBooks. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the third-party tool that I'm talking about, which I've already demoed in the past, which is called 2QBO Convert Pro. So I'm going to go to the website real quick here to kind of show you where you can find out more about it. But I want to demonstrate this tool, and they are sponsors of the show. The developer has become a friend of mine because I have talked to him about what we need as accountants, and one of the things that we talked about is PayPal. PayPal seems to be one of those really painful things to work with in QuickBooks. So what I asked him personally is, can we convert what PayPal gives us, which is right now a Quicken file, QIF file, which QuickBooks cannot open? Can we convert a Quicken file into .qbo format so we can import it into QuickBooks? And we literally spent the last couple of weeks working through and beta testing until we actually got it to work. So I'm actually extremely excited beyond belief to kind of show you the end result of work from both of our parts. So I'm going to show you kind of how this works. So I'm going to download the QIF file, and I'll just click here on Download History, and basically a file with a .qif extension downloads. And then I run this program. Let's go down here for a second. I run this program called QBO Convert Pro, and I'm going to go ahead and go to Convert, and I'm going to select my downloaded PayPal, and I'm going to go to Convert to QBO. And basically, it's literally one button you press, and it creates a QBO downloadable file. But what we did, which is basically we were trying to find out what is the best way to bring this information in there, what we did is we added an option here called Separate Splits. So basically, instead of, and I'm going to go back into PayPal again, and this is for anybody that has dealt with PayPal in the past and knows exactly what the deal with this is if you download the PayPal transaction net of the fee, so for example, if it downloads as $240, I have to manually, every time I download it, I have to manually enter the fee as a negative amount. So what we experimented with, what if we split the fee as a separate transaction, allowing us to, in terms, just get the gross amount and then the fee being marked separate. So let me do that actual example here, and I think when I downloaded the file, I didn't choose December. So I'm gonna show the actual example here. So I'm gonna put 12/01/2014 through 12/31/2014. And by the way, this is my real PayPal account. This is not like a test PayPal account or something. I'm doing this live with real information, real transactions and everything. I hope that, I'm not sure who Amy Nichols is, but I hope she doesn't get mad that I'm using her name. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to open up my QBO Convert Pro, and then the banks, I have to choose which bank I'm downloading. PayPal is not a a downloadable bank, so PayPal will not be in here. So basically what I do is look for something that kind of looked like PayPal, and this one called Payne County. I have no clue where Payne County is or what Payne County Bank is. I'm going to make the assumption that nobody in this webinar knows what Payne County Bank is, and you're probably not going to be needed. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. Account number, I'll just put account number 1. I really don't need to put multiple account numbers unless I'm dealing with multiple PayPal accounts. At that point, I would have to name one account 1 and one account 2 and so forth. So I'm going to click here on Convert again. I'm going to go into my desktop here. I'm going to choose that file called the download QUIF, and I'm going to go to convert to .qbo. Just for the heck of it, I'll open up that file in Excel just to kind of, so you can see that it's consistent with what I showed you before. So where's my QBO file? Whoops, where did it convert to? Let me do that conversion again because I'm not sure if it saved it. Where's my QBO file? Where is it? I lost it. Let me do the conversion again. Let me put it in a folder. It's going to be a lot easier. I'm going to put it up here in a folder. I'm going to click Convert. I'm going to select here, click on Convert to QBO. The file should be here. There it is. Not sure why last time it got lost. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my Excel and just kind of show you that it's a QBO file, just like any other QBO file. And there it is. It has the indentation for the codes, but it has the same type of information. So going into QuickBooks now, I can go to File, Utilities, Import, and I'm going to click on Web Connect Files. And I'm going to go ahead and choose that .qbo file that we converted from QUIF. We went from QUIF to QBO. I'm going to click Open, and then I'm going to show you how the information comes in here. I'm going to match it here to my PayPal. The information comes in here just as if this was a regular online banking scenario, which, by the way, if PayPal allows us to download the QBO file, this will fix it 100%. But until we figure, PayPal's probably not going to do it, this conversion is likely to be the best scenario. And I use it, and I've been using it lately after I tested it. It's pretty neat. Now, what's the advantage of having the information come in like this and also split is that now I can match it. I can match my payment with my invoice. I don't have to actually manually put my merchant fee here, which is wonderful. I can click on Add to QuickBooks in this case, and then it will add its rule, whatever it is. And then for transaction fee, this is awesome because it's basically just called transaction fee. So I'll just create a payee here called PayPal transaction fee, and I'll book it to whatever it is that I need to book it. And once I add the first one, because all the transaction fees are called transaction fees, QuickBooks is going to create a bank rule just like I showed earlier with QBO. Now this time around, this is a QuickBooks Desktop bank rule that says, hey, if it's called transaction fee, just go ahead and rename it and redo it for me, and the system will automatically book all my transaction fees where they're supposed to go and only leave my gross transaction, which is exactly what we want, so we can match it over. Okay, so again, the program is called 2QBO Convert Pro, and it's on the moneysum.com website. After this webinar is over, in about 10 minutes, we're actually going to stop recording, and whoever wants to stay on, we're going to do a sort of a beta test and a training just on this program and go into all the details. So QB Power Hour is going to end at 1 o'clock Eastern. But whoever wants to stay, we're going to talk about just this product, and we invited about 50 or 60 actual users to give us some feedback on the program as well, because I'm actually helping the developer make this program better and better. And for the time being, before we put the polling question, Michelle, I spoke for like 20 minutes straight. Are there any questions in the chat? Anything that people want me to repeat or clarify? Michelle, if you're muted, you want to check?
I was muted. I'm talking to myself again. Yes, there were several questions in there. I do want to let people know it was recorded, so you can watch it again. Somebody wanted to know what you were showing. Is that for QBO or QB Desktop or both?
Good. So a couple things. Let's not confuse things. So the term QBO, it's an acronym that we use for QuickBooks Online. However, before QuickBooks Online really was something that was on top of our tongue, QuickBooks uses a technology called OFX, which was rebranded as QBO. So the files that we download are .qbo. That's the extension of the file. .qbo files can be uploaded into QuickBooks Desktop by going into File, Utilities, Import Web Connect files, or they can also be imported into QuickBooks Online by using that file upload example that I chose, that I gave right at the very beginning. The software program that does the conversion, it's a software program that sits on your computer. It works on a Mac, it works on a PC, and basically the program just does the conversion before you do the upload. So to answer your question, it works in both platforms, desktop and online. Are there more questions, Michelle?
Yes. So what about the PayPal feed where you can set up PayPal as a bank and download those transactions?
Are you talking about QuickBooks Online? You're talking about QuickBooks Online, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very important point here. So I don't know if I'll have time to go to QuickBooks Online and actually demonstrate it, but in QuickBooks Online, right, PayPal is a downloadable bank, okay? The problem is that you're limited to 90 days. So if you need to go back for more than 90 days, you have an issue there. That's problem number one. And the problem number two is that the information comes in net of the fee. So net of the fee means that if in QuickBooks I have an invoice, let me go back to the invoice here. If I have an invoice for $249, it's not going to match because the net of the fee is going to be 230 something in change. And you have to manually add the transaction fee in order to match them together. So that's the challenge you have even with QuickBooks Online, that you can download PayPal, but it comes in net of the fee. So you would have to net the fee out in order to match your invoices or your payments with your bank every single time manually. Is that clear, Michelle?
It is. It's a pain in the butt.
What other questions?
We had another one here. Brent said something about how that he's got a client with 5,000 in PayPal transactions per month, inevitably breaks a day or more where the bank feed doesn't download, so he had to turn it off and do it manually. Okay, I think that was more of a comment. Sorry about that.
Yeah, what I would recommend to that person is, because PayPal is not QuickBooks friendly. I'm going to say that with the utmost responsibility, because PayPal just never really looked into working with QuickBooks tightly, and it does break and that sort of thing. So for people dealing with a large number of transactions, my personal recommendation is download your PayPal into Excel first. Don't use the direct connections. Download them into Excel. Allows you to double-check your credits, double-check your debits. Allows you to clean it if you need to, and then import it using batch enter. You know, if you have QuickBooks Online Accountant, or if you have QuickBooks Accountant, and if you have QuickBooks Online, use a tool like this. QBO Convert Pro can take data from Excel and convert it into QuickBooks. This can do PDF to QuickBooks. It can do Excel to QuickBooks. Let me show you the PDF function, because the PDF function is pretty incredible. It's probably what makes this software particularly strong. But before I do that, Michelle, you want to put the polling question up?
Yes, I will go ahead and do that now. Let me get it up here. And we will now launch the CPE poll question. So if you are a CPA or a certified bookkeeper or other certified person that needs continuing professional education credit to maintain your certification, now's the time to answer the CPE poll question. Not everybody needs CPE, so just keep that in mind. But the poll question is up. You're going to get a couple of minutes here to try to answer that poll question. Hector, I had a quick question for you. Somebody asked if it's okay for them to attend the session that you're doing after this, and I'm pretty sure that it is. Somebody else wanted to know if it would be recorded. Do you want to record that or not?
Okay, so we're not, so right after QB Power Hour is over, we're not recording that session because the developer is actually online, and he's going to ask some functionality questions. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, there may be some bugs that need to be fixed. There isn't that many, but there'll be some suggestions about what the program should do or can do, or how it's being used, and we're going to actually hear from some people voice-wise their experience with converting data into QuickBooks. And so we would have to ask permission to a lot of people in order to record their voice. So we're not going to record anything past the hour. So in a couple of minutes, when the session's officially over, you can stay on if you want to, and you're going to add value because we're trying to develop the ultimate product to lower the amount of data entry that people do. So, but because some of that, there'll be some sort of internal information being managed, so I can't really record it because of that.
Okay, okay. And then we had some other questions here too about, can I see the demo that you just did? And Linda and other people, it is recorded. So make sure that you pay attention. The thank you email for attending and stuff, that will go out with a link to it. Or you can always go to qbpowerhour.com in the archive to watch this as well as previous other sessions, other Power Hour webinars. So you can watch it later, and that way you can pause it and kind of soak it in and rewind and things like that. So it will be recorded for you. Okay? Okay, so there was a couple of other questions then. Can the same program be used for Square and Stripe transactions?
So Square and Stripe download the information via IIF, and IIF is not what we do. However, if Square and Stripe have a CSV export, an Excel export, then the answer is yes, and I'm very excited to hear because I didn't even think about Square and Stripe. Absolutely. If Square and Stripe can export the data into Excel, you can use the same program to download it via .qbo. Again, what we're trying to achieve here is we don't want to just push the data in. We want the data to come in via online banking or bank feeds so we can match it with our existing QuickBooks transactions. So I'm going to say yes to Square and Stripe as long as it actually exports into CSV or Excel.
Okay, great. And I'm going to go ahead and answer one question on Barter. I was getting ready to type it in. Somebody says to confirm you need to set up a separate vendor, like let's say Home Depot and Home Depot Barter. No, you don't have to have two separate vendors. The key that I was trying to point out is the customer and the vendor cannot be the same name. So you can have Home Depot, and you might have, I don't imagine they would really barter with us, but you can record barter transactions and regular transactions. But the point I was trying to make is you can't have the exact same name as a customer and as a vendor. It needs to be just a little different. But you don't need to set up Home Depot for regular transactions and Home Depot for barter transactions. That's not necessary. Okay, so we've had the poll question up for several minutes here. If anybody else,
let's take it down. Right.
I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. So last call to answer the CPE poll question.
Right.
If you need to get CPE, your time is gone. So if you want to answer that, I'm going to give you one more second. 3, 2, 1, and you're done.
Thank you. Last time we had some angry mail about how long the CPE question was up. So this time we took extra time for that. Okay. So a couple of things people are asking. There was 2 questions. People said, how much is the tool? So I'm going to put up in the screen here something. So if you go to moneythumb.com, and one of the things I really like about it is there's actually a demo that does, I believe it's up to 10 transactions just for you to kind of test it, because you want to make sure that it works for your bank and that sort of thing. So go to moneythumb.com, and there's a coupon code, right? So if you're going to buy it during this tax season, the coupon code is April 15. And it's for 15%, and it expires on April 15th. So we're trying to make it easy as possible. We're trying to help people get more work done during this tax season. And the developer is actually here, and he's answering the Stripe question. Ralph Mayer is the name of the developer. He's actually clarified the Stripe will work. He's tested it with Stripe in the past. Okay, the new converter, somebody's asking me when would the new converter be done. which is the one that can do the PayPal transactions? And the answer is now. We actually finished testing it about 2 days ago, and it's so the most current version is up, and it works. And then people are asking about the price. Just going to the website, there's all sorts of tools. There's tools that just do PDF to QBO. There's tools that just do CSV to QBO. The tool that I recommend is the 2QBO Convert Pro, which is $150, $149, and make sure you use the coupon code so you save a couple of bucks there. This tool is $149. I recommend it because it's an all-in-one tool. It can do, let me put it here, $149. I know it's a little bit informal here. So go to moneysound.com. It's called 2QBO Convert Pro. There's several tools. The one I recommend is $149 minus the 15% is whatever, $120, whatever it comes out to. And it can do CSV to QBO. It can do PDF to QBO. It can do QUIF to QBO. It can do a lot of things. And we're actually I'm helping Ralph, the developer, make it even do more. So we're trying to figure out what that more looks like. Anyway, so it's top of the hour now. We're going to go ahead and officially end the webinar. If you need to go ahead and go. If you want to stay, we're going to stop recording now, and we're actually going to talk about the tool in depth.